What's up, everybody? Psych Out back here with another Castle Crush video. Today is Friday evening of the Vampire Tournament, and just started playing a little bit ago, and we got ourselves a grand tournament victory. And in this video, I will show you the replay of those games. First, if we click here, we can see that we got it. This one was with 10 straight wins. It was like maybe my fourth or fifth, maybe even sixth try without any continues, but we'll see that in a second. So let's go ahead and claim our prizes. First, we've got our legendary, two more Dark Angel. I swear all I get anymore in these legendary things is Dark Angels. Okay. Pretty sure they're dropping them more frequently to try to get them equated with the rest of the legendaries. Nothing there I'm really too excited about. And nothing there really either. So pretty disappointing in terms of what we got out of that chest, but we did get our tournament win and our tournament point. Um, so let's go in here and see. Let's see here. That's not what we want. Let's check the standings. No big surprise here to see that Romaine is leading. Alpha Project is in the top 7 spots and also occupies 9 and 10. This despite the fact that this new group, Omega Project, here is one player from Omega Project, was intent on slowing down Alpha Project this time, but as we see, that's not really happened yet. In any case, let's take a look. Okay, so it was my fourth try, so no continues. I tried 3 other times. I had lost at round 9, I lost at round 8, and I lost at round 5 or 6. That must have been 6. So I lost at round 6, 8, 9. So I had a very good win record, so that would have been 5 and 1, 7 and 1, which is 12 and 2, and then another 8 and 1. So 20 and 3, and then I won 10 straight. So 30 and 3 with the deck that I'm about to show you in the games that I'm about to show you. Okay, so let's get to it. It's a Reaper deck, so the games will be quick. Didn't recognize, actually in this one I think I did have a few tough opponents. Laza from Peace is a tough opponent. Fosca from Peace is a tough opponent. And then Rookie, who's someone I've played before, although, yeah, I don't know why they're not in a clan right now, but I've played that person before. And then Connector is a tough opponent for round 10. So round 1 was against Kill Terry 313. Don't know who this is. But you'll see we're playing a Reaper deck, but it's a different kind of Reaper deck. As far as I know, I'm the only person to play this version of a Reaper deck, and you'll see some of the ideas in it here. This Reaper deck includes 2 angels. You see some other people playing Reaper decks with angels, including Romaine. But here's a pretty standard start. We want to get out the angel, and we want to get the Hollow Knight. Unfortunately, it was not really great for me here, but I do have the Reaper. My opponent probably should have played that Angel a little further back than he or she did. So even though we're here, my opponent still has a lot of creatures on the board and is doing a lot of damage to me, and I've done no damage so far. So we're getting out the Vampire. We're going to take advantage. I think my opponent should have played something different here, probably the Vampire or something else. We're going to take advantage of the Standard Bearer by jumping around. And you'll see that we're just barely going to get our opponent in time right there. Even though we did have a Standard Bearer switch in, we probably would have been okay. But nonetheless, we only had 751 left, so that ended up being, I think, the closest game of the run was in round 1. Although a lot of opponents playing these crystal decks. You saw my opponent got his crystal there. Or mana ritual decks. I think it's a way to sort of counter what's going on with a lot of Reaper players in this tournament. So again, there's my deck. It's double freeze, double angel, double protection, double Reaper, double standard bearer. And again, you'll see some of the ideas here with the angel and the protection. So the good news is you usually get pretty decent draws. In the first few rounds I played, when I didn't win, I thought I got some pretty terrible draws. But this is pretty decent here. Of course, pretty unlucky that the skeletons are all in the top lane, and of course, then he gets the protection down. Now, I don't know why he played the standard bearer here. To me, that doesn't make any sense. It was probably a pretty bad mistake. So here we've got to stop the bleeding by using a freeze and Reaper. And we're seeing a lot of people who are doing this. I pushed the genie back because the wind is always a good way to get the genie. Opponent plays the genie here to kill my angel, which makes sense because he wants to stop what's going on with my vampire. I just bring everybody down to the bottom lane, play the angel, play the protection. Now everybody's protected. The angel's healing everyone, and it's going to be really tough for my opponent to do anything here. So there we go. That's a pretty tough combination when you've got the angel with protection on it. Okay, so that was round 2. Round 3 was against Laza, a tough opponent. And Laza's playing a sort of a mixed deck here. I have a pretty good draw. The Storm Elemental is always a good card to get first. Angel is also good. You'll see a combination I like to play here. The Angel with the Storm. And here we will, I think, yeah, and so in this case I went ahead and froze because I know that would have killed, and so here's the thing, is that really isn't going to do anything. Now, I probably should not have played the protection because it ended up just being wasted there, but yeah, ultimately that didn't end up working out the way I had hoped. I should have been playing a standard bearer, but I've actually never really ran this version of the deck before, so this is my first time. Here, the idea is to get the vampire going with the angel. Still has a little bit of protection on it. My opponent really can't play anything here. Playing the Reaper in the bottom lane just to create a second threat, and as you'll see, my opponent has to deal with both threats, but really can't do anything. If he had played that vampire, it just would have died and given my own vampire more strength, so not a lot my opponent could do there. Let's go ahead and start opening one of those chests. So that was round 3. Round 4, I don't know this opponent. Clearly playing a power deck here that really hopes to get the mana rituals and doesn't have one on the draw, so that's good news for me. And gets 2 Skull Kings and a Black Knight, so not a good start. And he didn't discard anything, so that was not good either. So this is a pretty basic opening for me here. We want to get the angel, we want to get the yeah, and here I decided to go ahead and play the Reaper first. My opponent can't play an Inferno yet, so I'm sort of not worried about my angel being in any danger. And here my opponent really should have played the Executioner. I'm really not sure why he was waiting to play the Black Knight, but the Executioner was the only reasonable choice to try to stop the Reaper from doing damage. I did have a freeze in my hand and a standard bearer, so it probably wouldn't have done much anyway, but nonetheless, that deck is just, this deck just isn't going to work in these games. Okay, 1, 2, 3, that was round 4. Round 5, we drew Fosca from Peace, who's playing a deck that's pretty popular. There's decks like this that a lot of people are playing, and in many ways this deck is kind of designed to slow down a Reaper deck. It's got a wind, it's got a freeze, the Jester, 2 spike statues. Yeah, I mean, it's in a lot of ways designed to stop Reaper decks, but my Reaper deck is a little different because it's not just a Reaper deck. It doesn't just beat you with the Reaper. As we've seen in other games, it can also beat you with the Vampire Angel combination. Here I went ahead and played the Angel first. I don't know if that was necessarily the best move. And I'm going to go ahead and put the Hollow Knight out in front of it and get something started up there. I've got 2 freeze in my hand, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. I'm not sure why my opponent used the win there. I don't think that necessarily makes a lot of sense. And in there, I don't know about some of these moves. So here I'm just going to go ahead and try to grab, and I figured he would play a freeze, so I was ready for my freeze next. I'm sort of surprised my opponent hasn't played. There I'm going to get his get all of his stuff. And okay, so my opponent goes with the Black Witch here. I switch lanes to try to kill that Black Witch. It actually didn't work out But that was the sort of the idea. But and I did kill it, but because he had the spike statue and put that in front of the things, it didn't really work. But at this point, my Storm Elemental is just doing too much damage. So I mean, he could have played it differently to try to kill the Storm Elemental lane instead. But I mean, I had another combination going with the Angel and the Vampire, so it was a pretty tough spot. I don't know that there was a lot he could do in that situation. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in round 6, played an opponent that I don't know. And is playing a very mixed deck here. So here I'm going to go ahead and go with the Storm Elemental, and my opponent gets the Storm Elemental as well. And I'm going to play the Angel. I don't know if this really made any sense, but my plan here was to play the Angel and then the Reaper to kill that Storm Elemental. And just like that, and there, that worked. But then I was no, I did get this out. I think yeah, okay. So my opponent had a bomb, which killed everything, so that stinks. But in the meantime, my Storm is gaining lots of strength. I still have 2 standard bearers in my hand, so I can switch lanes when I need to, which is right now. Opponent did get the freeze in time. But yeah, I could use a freeze here, but I decided not to. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and just kill all this stuff so he can't attack me. I mean, everything's pretty well protected and pretty strong. And here, again, I could have played that Reaper as a defense if I wanted. I could have taken out all those skeletons, but instead I decided to play it in that lane, and then to just create a second threat. And you saw that my opponent had to try to deal with that second threat. So he put the 8 pirate in that lane and had to basically leave the bottom lane where lots of damage was being done by the Storm Elemental. And that's the thing about this deck, is it creates multiple threats that are hard to deal with. 10, 9, 8, 7. So in round 7, another opponent who I don't know. He's had a pretty high trophies of 5,800, so that's not bad. I think that's the big idea on this deck, is that it can suddenly create multiple threats for you to deal with. And defensively, it uses the double freeze. So here, I think, not a really great draw. I'm not too thrilled about having to play my Reaper where I did, but I am going to get a protection on both a Reaper and an Angel, and so that's kind of what I was thinking there, and I was way too slow with the freeze here. So this isn't really a good situation. Yeah, and my Reaper's going to die. I decided I need to start defending. And this actually works out pretty well because I can now play my Vampire up there and kind of keep it alive. Although it just barely gets that, yeah, and then it dies. So not a great situation here, and I know, yeah. So yeah, and he's got the Shaman up there, so I definitely have to push this back, otherwise I'll just lose everything. So okay, so now I've got a decent combination going. I've got some stuff out on the board. Now we're going to freeze, and I think I dropped the Reaper down, yep, so we can grab another Hollow Knight. And so now the game plan is just to grab as much of his stuff as I can. He's got the Shaman, both Shaman in the top lane, and unfortunately they're not going to be able to do enough damage with those Hollow Knights with the Angel behind him. And that Vampire is going nowhere, and suddenly I have a monstrous stack of, unfortunately nothing in there does area damage, but it's still just way too much, way too much damage being done. So even if you don't get a fast start, this deck can still win because of the threats it can create. And that was round 7, so round 8. Another opponent I don't know. And let's see here. Got a mana ritual. And what are we going to do? Okay, so let's see. I've got the Angel, so that's pretty good. This time I like to mix up where I start. I don't always start in the middle or the top lanes or the bottom lanes. You never know when you're going to see opponents more than once or who watches these videos. And by mixing up where I start things, I think it gives me a small edge. Here I decided to go ahead and throw down the protection. And so does my opponent. I just decided to switch lanes. In theory, I could have frozen there, but I think it's just better to try to to take on your opponent this way. And so here what I've done is I've put the Reaper in the bottom lane just to create another threat. This is a real mistake by my opponent. I don't know why he thought that giant growthing that would have been good. And now I switched the Reaper to the middle lane because now there are two Hollow Knights protecting it, or at least tanking for it. So yes, the Reaper did die to the Executioner, but in the meantime the damage was done. And yeah, there's not a lot my opponent can do. So that's something that's a little unique about this Reaper deck. A lot of times you would want to play the Reaper in the lane where you already have things so it can get down there and try to kill. But in this deck, I feel like I already have a threat with the Angel and protection on it and something in front of it. By putting a threat in another lane, it forces my opponent to try to deal with both threats, which usually can't happen. Okay, so a tough opponent here in round 9, rookie. Who also liked to play sort of coy, as you'll see in the game here, acting like he's scared of my Storm Elemental, when of course he's not. Here I decided to sort of play in standard Reaper fashion. I'm going to go ahead and throw on the protection. And, okay. And here I just decided to sack a Reaper to slow down some of the damage from these skeleton decks. Skeleton decks are kind of everywhere. Unfortunately, here, I don't think I made the best move. I was hoping my Storm Elemental would kill, obviously, kill that. Instead, now I'm trying to create, yeah, a stack there with, but that didn't work. Yeah, I was trying to create the Vampire Angel combo, but as you saw, that didn't work there. So instead, we're going to go for a different combo. Now, here I feel like my opponent should have played the Black Witch. And did not. Now I did have a, yeah, okay, so here I've got a couple of choices. I can go with the freeze and just go ahead and directly take that on, but I decided just to go ahead and switch lanes because that vampire isn't going to do squat. I'm ready with another protection, and it really doesn't matter what my opponent does, and so I give a little bit back to him since he was doing a little sticker move at the beginning. So we ended up not even having to use our freeze there. And the last battle is against Connector, who's a tough opponent. Connector almost always plays overtime decks. And so, yeah, so that's what I expected here. And usually in the round 10s, you get tough opponents, so we expected that. Pretty happy to see my draw here. This is a pretty good setup, I think, for me. I know that I'm going to be able to get out my Hollow Knight with the Angel, and there's not really anything an overtime deck can do to it yet. I'm sort of expecting a Vampire to come here, but I decided to go ahead and play the, yeah. I think it made a lot of sense to play that, because now I've got a stack of things, and I put the protection on it, so everything's still there. Unfortunately, he still has Inferno, and I couldn't guess quick enough. I wish I had guessed that he would play it there, but I didn't. So now I want to switch lanes. Again, I was hoping he would play the Vampire, but did not. So I got the protection down just in time to save the Hollow Knight from the Lightning Bolt. And now here comes my Vampire with the Angel in front of it. It's a good move to play the arrows there, but it probably should have came with another arrow, maybe. I don't know. Played the arrows there, which were too soon because it left my Reaper alive, and so he just misjudged the timing, and that was really the huge mistake that cost him the game, because then the Reaper was at the castle and there was no defense. So got a win because of sort of a mistake by my opponent there in round 10. So that's it. That is how we won the grand tournament for the Vampires tournament here. And again, I think this is a unique deck. It's a deck that emphasizes 2 points, and that is that the Angel is really strong right now, and that the Reaper is really strong in tournaments, and that's what this deck tries to emphasize. There are ways to tweak the deck. I've been thinking about I may drop one of the freezes. As you saw in some of those games, I ended up with too many freezes in my hand, and it's like, why do I have all these freezes? But I may drop a freeze for, I think, a couple of options that make sense there. One would be a Boneyard. Another option would be the Shock. Any case, let's see here. We do have one silver chest we can open, so let's go ahead and open that. And then I tell you what, as a bonus to this video, I am going to play one